Welcome back, everyone, to episode 95 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. I am one of your hosts, Easton Bennett, along with my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden, over in Canada. Close to the American border, Tyler. It is close enough where you're basically American at this point. Good to be back for another episode. How's it going, Tyler?
It's going pretty good. I was just driving home. I was extremely tired, and I barely made it. I was like falling asleep, and then I had to stop, got an Americano. And it's kind of late here, and it's almost bedtime, so I'm wide awake right now. So I'm gonna be able to see if I'll be able to sleep, but I should be wide awake for this episode. So hopefully we can deliver some good stuff here.
Do they have Canadian conos or something of that sort?
No, I don't think they do. I've never tried asking for it, but I was at Tim Hortons. That's a Canadian company, and I got an Americano there. So they that's all I know.
They're stealing it from us. I will tell you a funny story about being tired and driving. I will not name names, but I was on a shoot with somebody, and they showed up, and I had to drive probably an hour for this shoot, and they come in their own vehicle, and they showed up, and there's a bunch of stuff on the front of their vehicle. It looked like they'd driven through a cornfield. It was the craziest thing ever. So I was jokingly like, God, it looks like you drove through a cornfield. And the person was like, yeah, that's when I fell asleep when I was driving here. And I was like, what?
Damn.
It's like, yeah, I fell asleep,
That's
and I
wild.
must have been like in a ditch driving through. I'm like, good Lord, I didn't think that was actually real. I thought you were just giving a shit. So yeah, it is quite something. But yeah, that is my story about driving through a ditch. I've never gotten to that point, but I have been tired sleeping. I was actually listening to Joe Rogan, and he says that you need a cold towel with cold water, like a wash rag. And whenever you get tired, just put it on your face and you're golden.
What I find is the best is just having sunflower seeds, and then you just use sunflower seeds, and then you got that for your trip. If it's a long trip, get a massive bag of sunflower seeds, and you'll be set because it keeps you occupied.
But I do that anyways. Like, I've now trained myself that any trip I go on is automatically just sunflower seeds. So if I go on a trip and I don't have seeds, it's the worst thing on earth. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's just long road trips for me. So I'd say maybe anything over like maybe on our trip to Lake Placid, I'll grab some seeds. But I think there's a good rotation that we'd be able to rotate out if I'm getting a little drowsy. But
We'll
just basically anything.
We'll get the whole gamut of seeds. We'll do a little try video. But yeah, we're getting a little off topic here. Let's
no. One last thing. I've always wanted to try those TikTok ads, those one seeds. I always saw the TikTok ads. I think you said you weren't a fan of their ads, but I was like looking up when I was doing my road trip back home from Tucson. I was trying to find them at stores. I went to one store, they were supposed to be ad. I didn't see any there, and I was kind of pissed. And I was just like falling asleep, and I'm like, I can't wait any longer, and I just had to get regular seeds. So I really wanted to try them out.
Are they the guy that does, he like asks baseball players if he wants to try
baseball players? Yeah. They have some neat flavors.
Yeah. Very interesting flavors. I would definitely give them a
Cinnamon
shot.
churro. That sounds so good.
Yeah. Let's dive back into a little bit more about what this podcast is about. Before we get into your actual updates, Tyler, I'm curious. It's been a little bit since we've talked. I didn't make the mastermind this week, and we filmed last week. We're filming this on Sunday, so it's been a little bit. How's the Ironman training going? You're about 4 weeks out.
Yeah, 3 weeks out actually, and been better. Had some knee issues this week, so one of my rides I did. I think it was like 35 minutes off the bike, and my knee started acting up, and I would like run, and then I would walk, and then I would run and walk, and then I made it through, and I was like, that's not good. And then the next day, I think it was the next day. It was my long run day, and I'm like, I'll see how it goes. I'll see how it feels. And I made it through. I didn't stop and walk or anything, but I was definitely battling some pain and discomfort in my knee. And I noticed after that, I was just in pain, and it was not good. So I even had to swim later in the day, and it was hurting while I was swimming. And I'm like, okay, that's definitely not good. So I took a few days off from running, and I did an extra bike today in place of it, and I took, I think, 3 runs off. So I don't think my next run is until Wednesday, so I'm gonna see how it goes and if it's feeling better. But yeah, I was just trying to give it some time. But other than that, I think it's going pretty good. Getting a lot of elevation gain on my bikes, and yeah, I think it's going pretty good other than my little knee issue. So it's better now than during race day or like week leading up to it. So it at least gives me some time to try and heal it up.
Yeah, recover a little bit. It's a bad time. You don't want to get injured right before, but hopefully that heals up. I was actually going to send you a picture last night. I was watching the UFC fights, and David Goggins was in the front row, and they cut the camera to him. I couldn't get my phone out quick enough to take a picture, but immediately when the camera cut to him, it just double bird right to the camera. 2 middle fingers. It was the funniest
That's
thing
hilarious.
ever. And I could get my camera out, but figured I'd tell you on the show.
Yeah, that's great. I love David.
Yeah.
He's the reason I'm here.
Exactly. So hopefully that Ironman goes well. Other than that, Tyler, what kind of updates you got for us since last time we talked?
Yeah, so I pay for our Arte and I don't get my money's worth. And I saw a post the other day and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start trying to actually, I don't know if I'm actually gonna, but I saw someone, they asked about YouTube. They wanted to get into it. And I was like, you know what? I need to start like putting myself out there and just offering any valuable information that I do have. So I told the girl that, hey, I know a little bit about YouTube, and I'll meet with you and go over everything that I've learned, everything that I've read or heard or whatever. So I'm trying to be a little bit more active in Arte. I don't know if I'm actually going to be, but I got a meeting booked and I'm going to be helping her out a little bit with YouTube, and hopefully I can provide some insights for her and help her out a little bit on her journey. So, yeah.
Little goes a long way. That's what I've learned. Even if you think, I don't know very much, especially someone that's just starting YouTube, like, you know a ton more than a person that just starts.
Right. Yeah. So that's one thing that I'm just trying to do a little bit more, is because I've always said it. And it's just like, I feel like I make the excuse that I just don't have time, and it's just, I don't make it a priority. So I'm trying to spend a little bit more time there. And then the other thing is with the client, with the new website that I'm trying to build out, I feel like I'm a little bit over my head with it. It's just, it looks like it's been built in like the 1990s, and they only gave me access to like the C panel, which is, I don't even know what it is. And I don't see anywhere where they made the website. So I'm trying to get them to log in to where they have their hosting at. And then they're like, yeah, I'd never heard of that. Doesn't sound anything familiar. So I feel like I'm in a little bit over my head here trying to do something, but like I message them. I'm like, I don't really know. I went through cPanel. I couldn't find anything. I can't find the website. I feel like we need to go to your domain to see if we can get in there. Once we get in there, hopefully we can figure something out. But we might have to reach out to support. Maybe we even have to get like a whole new domain, but I'm assuming they're paying someone. And from the checker that I looked on, it was like, this is the website. That's where it's hosted at. So I don't know how they just don't know this, but they probably haven't touched it since 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, they're probably just reoccurring fee or something that's coming out of their account every once a year, and they don't even think about it. Yeah, there's a learning process. Got to get through those clients that, maybe don't know a little bit. I have to do that a lot of times with video when, they start saying stuff and I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is absurd. I'm going to kind of babysit them through it.
So just trying to figure out and trying to make sure that I can get it done for them and just deliver the best I possibly can for them. So that's pretty much everything that's going on with me. What's going on with you?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Kind of nothing new, just working on the day-to-day, getting projects done. We've had a lot of shoots lately, so haven't had a ton of time to work on the business. I think we had 4 shoots last week, and then I golfed in one of my clients' tournaments, so nothing crazy last week, but I did find something. I put an Instagram story up that I wanted to mention. This is kind of nerdy and probably not going to apply to a ton of people, but if it does apply to you, it is a game changer. I have a NAS, which stands for Network Attached Storage. It is an 8-bay Synology drive, and basically it's 100 terabytes of just archived footage, just like this podcast. When this podcast is done, I'll drop it onto the NAS. It'll be good forever. It's connected to the cloud. And I was running into this issue, and I've had this issue ever since I got it. And you try to transfer files from your computer over to the NAS, and it takes an absolute eternity to transfer them, right? Like sometimes you get lucky and it's like, oh, this will transfer in 2 hours and it's perfect. Sometimes it's like, this is going to take 4 days. And I was absolutely ready to throw the thing away and buy something new. And I watched one YouTube video, and the guy's like, the best part about the NAS is you just plug the hard drive directly into the NAS, and then you go to your DSM, which is your disk station manager, and you transfer it right from there. And I had an absolute epiphany. I plugged it in. I went to the disk station manager. drag and drop, and it took 3 minutes to transfer it. And I was absolutely creaming in my shorts. It was it was the best revelation that I've found probably this whole entire year. So if you guys are looking for a storage option, get a NAS. It's awesome now that I know how it works. Get a network attached storage. It just attaches to your internet, and just plug your hard drive in, and you are golden. But yeah, I was so frustrated, and that one video saved me. And that goes back to YouTube. Make YouTube videos, and you never know what little nugget might come out of the YouTube videos that help someone out.
Yeah, that's a huge time difference or efficiency, whatever you want to call it. Efficiency is huge, especially with like business and making sure like you're being quick. But like I remember being at your place, that thing was always like going is like, or I don't know the noise that it makes, but it's like it makes a decent noise. So
spinning noise for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't make as much noise, or I don't know how much you're like sitting there waiting for it. I feel like you can do stuff in the background, but just being able to not have to worry about it, it's like quick and easy, over and done with, makes it a lot easier.
And the issue I was having before is that the only time it really worked is when I would have it pulled up on my screen and I could watch it and monitor it. So when I drag it over there, I keep it on that screen, and then the computer comes a little bit useless. Whereas sometimes I'd start doing other tasks and I'd switch over and there's an error that happened or something went wrong. So it got to the point where I couldn't archive my footage fast enough for the new footage that was coming onto the hard drives. So I was just having to buy more and more 1 terabyte hard drives. It was becoming an issue. But yeah, once I figured this out, game changer. It is in another room. It's like 2 rooms over, so I don't even hear it chugging along and spinning, which is good. But the thing is almost full, so I'm probably gonna have to buy a new one, which sucks because they're like $4,000, but it's the price of doing business.
How long have you had that thing for? I feel like you've had it for a while.
It's been about 3 years, I'd say 3.5 years. So,
and now you're just learning about this. Look at that.
It's
always
crazy.
Learning.
It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, if I can get 100 terabytes in 4 years, I do have like every single raw file of all the podcasts that I do on this thing. So I'm going to try to delete those, and hopefully that frees up 10, 15 terabytes. But if not, then I'll just have to get a new one. But yeah, it's starting to fill up pretty quick.
It's a lot of terabytes. It's a lot of it's a lot of storage.
It is more than one would like to deal with.
I guess that's the price of being a videographer.
I know, it's horrible. And that's where I've started to do where if that thing completely stops working, we started exporting like all the selected clips, the B-roll clips and interviews, the good ones. We're just exporting those into one file, uploading them to Dropbox. So then that's like 5 gigs. And then we can always pull that and download it. It's obviously not the highest resolution, but it's good to have that as a backup. So we started implementing that into the process too. But yeah, it is sometimes good to have those files, but I've found that literally I never go back and use those files. Maybe once or twice.
Like, it's like an extremely rare occurrence.
Exactly. And I don't know why I do it, but whatever.
You never know.
Exactly.
I do the same thing.
So the only other update I got, I guess 2 updates here. One, someone reached out to me, the business page on Instagram, and said, hey, are you guys hiring? I'd love to send over my resume. Looked at the gal's page, and she had like 55,000 followers on Instagram and about 2,000 to 4,000 likes on each of her posts. She was kind of a outdoor, like a travel content creator. So I said, I'm not going to say no right out the bat. Send something over. Tell me what you think you would do. Maybe have a conversation there. But if that's something where maybe I can hire a freelance social media person to kind of tackle that stuff, might be a route I'm looking into. But she sent that yesterday. Obviously, it's a weekend, so I haven't seen anything from her yet. Hopefully, I get something this week. And if something comes of that, I'll update us on the show. But just figured I'd throw that update in there now.
She seems like she might know a thing or two about social media if she's got that decent of a following. So
that's what I was thinking.
Seems like she's got good engagement.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, you don't want those $60,000 or 60,000 follower accounts, and then each of their posts has like 27 likes. It's like, okay, this looks a little bit fishy. So as long as it's legit, and if she actually can help out and provide some value, then awesome. But it's definitely worth exploring, and that's where we're at now. So
yeah, there's also some bot thing where you can go into, I don't know what it is, but like you can pay to be in, say, a group, and it's like I post here, and then everyone just goes and likes it. I've seen this one guy, he has like a good amount of following, but like his reels have maybe a couple thousand likes or something, and his impressions are only at a couple hundred. And I'm like, something's not adding up here.
How does
so
this
I
work?
think he might buy likes, which is weird to me. At the same time, I tried making one of those Instagram accounts, and I was in that group, so that's how I know about this.
Yeah. Tyler was once a user, now he is a exploiter.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
tell the
I
secrets.
went in there. It was interesting. People like comment the exact same thing, and you can kind of tell.
I always get to DM me for free bracelets. I'm like, I don't want your free bracelets. So
It's an interesting one.
I had one more update on the list, but I think now that I think about it, I'm going to save it for next week when it's about a meeting, and I'll just save it so we can have kind of a conversation actually about the meeting instead of just updating on pretty much nothing. So we'll save that last update. Tyler, anything else that you want to talk about before we get into this week's topic?
I don't think so.
So let's
ready
dive
to get
in. We're going to be talking about, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 10 bullet points here. Our top 10 ways to not be successful, how not to be successful. So I figured we'd kind of rip through these, Tyler. Obviously, if we come in with some honorable mentions, if it ends up being 11, 12, 13, so be it. But we got a list of 10 ways on how not to be successful. So I'll throw it over to you, Tyler. What is the first way on how not to be successful?
So I'll say some of the stuff that I listed in here, I would say I got from personal experience with, say, some of my businesses with Nuevo or New Frame, and also trying to learn what we're currently doing at Builder Funnel and seeing what they're doing, what they've done in the past. And that kind of sparks some of the ideas that I did come up with throughout this. But one of the first ones is not being consistent, or just quitting often, or, something like that, just not having discipline. And I think that's a huge one, especially with us in Nuevo. We got so much excitement out of it when we first started, and we were doing stuff, and we were posting, we were creating blog posts, and I think we just thought it was going to happen overnight, and we just didn't stick with it. We weren't consistent. We quit, and we quit often. And there's so many different things that we did quit, like our weekly meetings that we had, blogging, social media. And it's like we had so much fun, say, going out, taking pictures, doing a photo shoot and that stuff. But then it's like, okay, now what are we going to do? And we kind of were not consistent at all with any of it. It's like we'd come back in 3 months and it's like, here's this. And then maybe we'll come back in 4 months with an email. And it's like, we got Father's Day promo. And then we come back in 2 months, here's another social media post. So we were just not consistent at all. We quit a lot of times. We're probably going to quit soon. I don't know. We should be. But it's just like every month I message Riley. It's like, hey, credit card's due.
Yep.
And so it's like nothing's happening. So yeah, so that's the first one that I put in there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. That's an awesome way on how not to be successful. Make sure you quit a ton, and make sure you quit often, as much as you can. So if you're trying not to be successful, just keep quitting and quitting and quitting, and make sure to have no discipline, right? If you think you're going to do something, just don't stick to it. Do it if you want to. Do it if you don't want to. It's fantastic.
Takes so much time.
Yeah, I love number one. Number two, I'll take that one, Tyler. Number two, the number two reason or way on how not to be successful, make sure you do not get any clients, whether they're new clients, whether they're old clients. Just make sure you don't get any of them. Try not to get them at all. That is a fantastic way to not be successful.
I agree with that. That's something that I thought about with New Frame is I'm not, just because, I don't know, it's an excuse at this point, but I'm not really trying to seek out new employment or new clients, and I'm not growing, and the business isn't really going anywhere. And if you're not growing, the market's growing. So it's like you're getting left behind. So that's one thing that I've realized is, for me, I'm not becoming more successful because I'm not, getting new clients. And one thing that I've realized at Builder Funnel is that they started investing a lot more in sales roles and sales development, just because like they're trying to grow the company. And it's like, how are you going to grow the company? You got to get more sales. You got to get more people coming in. So that's one thing that I'm noticing right now, is that they're spending a lot of time and effort in that area to try and grow the company.
Yeah, make sure that your sales department is pretty much non-existent. That's a fantastic way to not be successful.
Or just don't have a sales department.
Yeah, don't even think about a sales department. If you're trying not to be
you don't need
successful,
one.
don't even think about it. I wouldn't even reach out to people. Don't even have conversations with people. Don't build relationships. There's a couple honorable mentions.
There you go.
I like that. All right, Tyler, throw us. We'll do number 3. This mic is absolutely, I don't know what's going on, but what's number 3 here, Tyler?
So one thing that I'm noticing a lot with Builder Funnel is they're hiring people. This kind of touches in the other one.
You do whichever one you
want
want.
to do?
You rip one. I'll rip another one.
Well, it's they're hiring. I don't want to. So it's just trying to find people that actually know what they're doing, and that's one thing that I've noticed with Builder Funnel is that they're trying to create processes because you fall to your level of processes, and what they're doing is trying to put in place these processes for, say, onboarding new people, because when someone comes in and we got a new either client or we got a new employee, they're just kind of thrown in the fire, and it's like mainly for the employees, it's like, here, learn and figure shit out. So that's what we're trying to do right now is come up with processes so everything can be repeatable. And it's like we have so many different pods where it's like everyone does their own thing differently. So it's like if pod A and pod B are doing the exact same deliverables, but they do it their own ways. If, say, something happens to pod B and someone from pod A has to come in to help out, they aren't able to because it's not the same process. It's like, okay, now there's a lot of differences here. They aren't able to fill in as easily. So it's a lot of processes to make it as smooth as possible with basically everything in your business. I know you are working a lot on processes. Do you have stuff to touch on with processes there?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to not be successful, just make sure you don't even implement any processes. That's probably the best way. If you're trying to be successful on the other end, then like Tyler said, you need to have some sort of system that you're pushing your clients through, that you're communicating with your team. But as long as you want to not be successful, just make sure you don't talk to your team at all. Make sure that everything's messy. You want the projects to be messy, so when a new client comes in, they're not really sure where they're at in the process. There's no updating the client. They don't know what the next steps are. You're not being communicative with them. That's probably the best way to have no processes. But on the flip side, if you want to be successful, then make sure you hammer home on those points.
That's something that we're working on a lot right now, where we just had someone, and he's going to be trying to touch base with them as much as possible, and he uses Asana a lot, and he's really good at it, and he's really building out a lot of the processes for a lot of the stuff so we can project manage a lot better there. And I think he just sets a lot of reminders. It's like check in with this client to give them an update, give this client an update, where it's a lot more touch points where you're just being able to touch them and be like, this is an update, because a lot of the clients, we just had one the other week, they're like, we haven't heard since you guys started. Where's it at? How's it looking? What's going on? So it's just having those like something as simple as update client at the end of the week or something like that, where it's just like something extremely simple like that, but like so many other things like onboarding with clients. I was thinking about doing that with NewFrame, but currently just haven't done it. But like trying to have like an onboarding process where it's like, okay, we're going to walk through this. It's like, this is everything that I need access to, and this is how we're going to be able to grow. And I think just trying to get everything that I need, so it's like a seamless process, makes it a lot better and a lot easier. And I remember going back to my one client that I currently have, it was a lot of back and forth where it's like, I need this, I need that, I need this. And they had given me access to a few things. It's like, I don't have access to this. And then he sent me an email back. He's like, with the screenshot. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. So it was like Facebook access or something. So I went on Facebook, and then I had to like manually accept that from the notifications. So I just never got that thing. But like if I had a good seamless process, it might have been a little bit better.
And it really boils down to the SOPs too, your standard operating procedures. If you can have that in one place where you can point to it and say, here's what it is, here's our holy grail. Then if anyone has a question, from the top level executives to the bottom level employees, whatever that is, everyone can look at the same place, at the same document or same whatever it is, and say, this is how we do things. This is how we onboard a client. This is exactly how it happens. This is how we close the store on a Friday. Whatever that looks like, you should have as many SOPs as you can to explain the different operations. Obviously, you don't have to have them for this is how you walk in the door when you get to work. But obviously, have your SOPs in place so everybody can point in the same direction, be like, this is how we do things, and this is how everyone's going to do it. Not one person does it this way, and then another person does it another way. Make sure everything's cohesive and together. But if you want to be unsuccessful, don't have any of the processes. Just don't even start that process.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now is a lot of these SOPs with the train. We're using Trainual. So, yeah, we're doing a lot of that stuff. So, we're trying to grow. So, it seems like that's something that's probably something smart to do.
Yeah, processes are good. Number 4 on ways to not be successful, make sure you don't hire any people. And if you end up getting caught where you accidentally hire someone, make sure that that person is unqualified. Because unqualified people are going to make it much easier to be unsuccessful. So if you're going to hire, if you have to hire, make sure the person is not qualified for the job. They're not going to get the job done. Make sure they're a difficult employee. That's probably the best way to be unsuccessful.
Or they just don't have experience. That's one thing that I've noticed right now with Builder Funnel is in the past, it seemed like we would just hire anyone that was interested. And it's like, okay, they seem good. They seem competent. But it was like they didn't have the experience. Whereas now they've really switched the approach of hiring people who have done it before. And this goes back to like what I was trying to avoid saying is that we're hiring these people that have done it. And the one guy building out the processes, they hired him. He's like, he's done this before with a different company. So they know that they're able to do that. And same thing with a lot of the strategists. Like if I were to apply back when I first applied, I don't think I would have got the job now just because of the people that they're hiring, because they want people that are actually have been in a role. They understand the systems, they understand the processes, how to do marketing. Whereas with me, I was pretty fresh out of college. I didn't understand that stuff. So it's like they've really switched the approach from hiring just basically anyone to now hiring people that do have experience, that know how to go from point A to point B where we're trying to go. And that's basically what you want to do. You don't really want to I've been holding off on hiring people with like New Frame. It would be nice to like outsource shit and just be like, hey, can you do this for me? But yeah, I don't think I'm at that point yet, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't have a ton to add to that. If you're looking to be unsuccessful, just make sure that people are unqualified. Make sure they don't have very much experience. The nice part about hiring those people is they're a little bit cheaper. But yeah, if you're looking to hire people that are experienced, they might cost a little bit more, but it's a fine balance between experience. Like if I'm going to hire Steve Jobs to do my sales, okay, that's probably going to cost me an arm and a leg, but where can you find that experience and the pay works right? And that's right in the sweet spot. But if you want to be unsuccessful, just don't hire anybody and then you're good to go.
Or hire the people or the wrong people. I think it goes back to the same thing. Like it's going to be an investment in your company because it's like, okay, if this person's able to grow the company, say 10, 100x, like what's that worth to you? And it's like, is it worth like what he's asking for? Because if he's able to grow your company 10, 100,000x, whatever it is, then it might just be worth it. And you're just going to have to suck short term, and over the long term, it's going to be worth it.
I agree. If you can come to some sort of agreement where you might have to pay that person $1 million and you don't have $1 million. If you can come to an agreement where they get that on the back end after the 100x, that's the real sweet spot right there. Tyler, what do you got for number 5 on ways to not be successful?
Delivering a bad product or service or experience. And I think this is really similar and maybe goes back to a little bit of sales, just because it's like you can get sales, but it's like if you don't have a good product or service, people aren't going to tell other people about it. So it's like, and there's going to be a big churn rate. So it's like they might come to you, they might hire you for say a month, and it was like, wow, that was absolute shit. And then they leave, and then now you don't have sales, or you don't have a sales process, or maybe you do, and then they just come back in, and it's like a revolving door where they're just constantly going in and out, where it just makes it a lot easier if you do have a good product or service or experience. And I think that's a huge aspect of it.
That's a great way to fail, is to have no value proposition either. If it's a really bad product or a really bad service, your salespeople can sell the crap out of it. But if your product is a bag of steaming dog shit, nobody's going to buy it 2 times over, right? So it's a great way. Make sure your product absolutely sucks. Make sure your service sucks. And that's a fantastic way to fail. I love that. I love this whole no value prop situation.
I mean, that's the point of business. It's like, if you can't provide that value, it's like, why is someone going to pay for it?
And that should actually probably be one of the first things you focus on. Make sure you have a good product or service before you start pouring gas on the fire. Because you don't want to get to the point where we have all these clients coming in because your marketing might be great, but then the person gets the product or service and they're like, wow, this is horrible. This is trash. You might be able to keep people coming in and get those one-time buyers, but there's only so many people you can sell to.
That just comes back to cost of acquisition, where you are paying maybe a lot to acquire customers. Maybe you are profitable, but then you're just continually buying new customers and no one's really coming back. So it's like you're really stagnant and your growth will be really linear if you're able to grow at that point. But if you have that really good product or service, they keep coming back, and then they might tell other people and they might bring someone else with them. So and then that's where it goes into the hockey stick growth, where it's not linear and your cost of acquisition goes down because those people are telling other people, and then it just makes it a lot better and a lot easier for you.
I agree. Number 6 here, Tyler, kind of touches on what we just touched on. Good product or service, that's fantastic, but make sure you don't do any marketing. Don't market your product. Don't market your service. And you are on the first stop train. I don't know what they say. Some sort of saying like that, on the way to failure and unsuccessfulness. So doing no marketing, fantastic way to kill your business. Don't create content, no photos, no videos. Don't get the word out there. And you'll be sitting nice and pretty with a bad business.
No blogging, no Google ads, no Facebook ads.
No website. Don't create one of those.
No social media.
Don't tell people about your business. Don't tell people about your brand. Make sure you hide it from them.
It's funny, I kind of do that. I don't tell a lot of people.
Why are you doing
I do
any
market
of these,
in other areas. I do some of the other stuff, but like I'm just at a point where I don't do marketing.
Yeah, you're not committed.
Which is ironic. Which is ironic because I do marketing for my services.
Well,
I do it for clients.
That's me too. I haven't created a ton of content, so trying to figure out a way
irony.
Because like the way I'm doing it now, it's just not working. I need someone to help out with that because I obviously have tried numerous times to get it going and it's just hasn't been successful. So you know, maybe that'll go into the next one here. That'll pivot into the next one. I'll tell you here, Tyler. I don't know if it's mine or yours, but I'll take it. But make sure that you do not learn from your mistakes. I think that's a big one. Keep doing the same thing over and over again, especially if it's failing. If you keep doing it, that's fantastic. Just keep repeating that. Don't learn from your mistakes. Don't invest in your company. Don't invest in learning. Don't invest in growing. And it's a fantastic way to fail. So I think that's fantastic way to make sure that your business does not succeed is just, make sure you don't learn from the mistakes you're doing. And I've been caught in that predicament, that pickle before. Just keep trying the same thing over and over again. Isn't that what people say where they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Yep.
Yeah. So make sure you don't do that. Make sure you just don't learn. Keep doing it.
I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I couldn't remember it exactly. But the way Alex Hormozy defines like being smart is it being smart or learning? I think it's learning. Maybe it's, I don't know, both. But I know it now, where it's like if there's an action that happens and you learn from it and you change your behavior, that means you're smart. And then, so say he holds up like his hand or a red sign or whatever, and he slaps you. And then you learn from that. So it's like he holds up the red sign and he goes to slap you, but you moved. That means you're smart because you learned, you changed your behavior. Whereas if he holds up the red sign and he slaps you and you don't do anything and he does it again and again and again, that means you're not smart and you aren't changing your behavior. So it's like the time from how long it takes you to learn to change your behavior to not changing your behavior is like how smart you actually are. So that's how he kind of defines
and how quickly you're going to be successful too.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like if you learn from those mistakes happen, and it's like, okay, that I learned from this. I got to change my behavior now or my actions. So just being able to learn from that and, I mean, grow. That's how you do it.
Have you seen that one video where they talk about Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.? When he's like, Robert Downey Jr. doesn't fight the Hulk again because he learns from his mistakes. And then they go, and Iron Man does not go into this room anymore because he learns from his mistakes. And it's just over and over and over. He learns from his mistakes. I always think back to that when people talk about that. I'll find it and shoot it over to you.
There is one that I saw where it kind of goes over it, where there's like little improvements in his suit every single time. And it shows like, for example, when Peter Parker had his Spider-Man suit on and he was falling from the sky and he didn't have a parachute. And then he ended up falling into the water. Next iteration of his suit, he has a parachute now. So when he's falling, it catches him. Mm-hmm. And then it's the same thing with like the Iron Man suit, where it's like different stuff where it's like, okay, it needs something to de-ice it when it gets up to a certain point. And then like when he's going at a certain speed, he needs something to stabilize it. So it's just like little improvements each and every step of the way. So it's like he learns from every single little mistake and makes little improvements. And I think that's what you got to be doing, where every little mistake or every little, even stuff that isn't a mistake, when it might be positive, it's like you take that and it's like, okay, let's build on that. So it's taking everything and learning from it.
I like that as a business concept, the Iron Man philosophy. You could teach people that and be like, okay, you want to learn from your mistakes? Here's the example we use.
Yeah.
I do like that.
I feel like I think we skipped this one, but that's like branding, where you have something Tyler. Where you like,
it's your turn. Let's go into it.
Where you like build a brand. And I think Graham Stephan does a really good job with this, where he's built like, I mean, there's certain things that he says that's like branding towards him, where it's like 10-cent coffee. And then he created his podcast called the Iced Coffee Hour. And then I think he ended up creating a coffee company called like 10-Cent Coffee. And he also does his little intro where it's like, smash the like button. So it's like little things that you like get associated with like each thing that you do. So it's like, I think we've talked about branding before, and it's just like what you associate with that person. So it's like, okay, with Graham Stephan, you associate finance, coffee, cheap coffee, or like making your own type of stuff. So it's just basically trying to build, and that just kind of goes with your brand. It's like, what type of brand are you trying to build, and what do you want it to be associated with? So it's like, are you building a fitness company and you want it to be associated with, say, discipline, hard work, determination, motivation, whatever it is? And then how do you actually go in there and actually build that brand around it and have that association? That I think is just like being the owner and having everyone in the company displaying those different, actions, values, skills, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, values. And that's just kind of how you build that brand, is like that association with that brand. So it's like how everyone portrays themselves is how you're going to build that brand.
And yeah, try not to do that. If you're trying to be unsuccessful, don't build a brand at all. Make sure it's messy. Make sure people don't know what you're doing. They can't really latch on to you. Make sure you use different music in all your content for your podcasts. Make sure the intro and the outro are different. Make sure there's no structure. Make sure there's no format. Make sure you don't have a logo or specific packaging.
Yeah.
Send all of your...
That's how someone can remember you.
Yeah, retail business. Make sure you send all your packages in different packaging, from a bag to a box to a small box, big box, white box, brown box. It's a fantastic way to be unsuccessful.
A lot of the stuff you're saying ties back to the first one that we said, not being consistent. Just don't do anything consistently.
Yeah, and quit often.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go into one. Were you saying something? Sorry.
I was just going to say, what's the next one?
My next one might be one of my favorite ones. Don't work more than the average person. Look around at all your friends, see how much they're working, and try to work as much as them, or maybe even a little bit less. If you can cut some hours off, it's going to be a great way to get there. It's going to be a great way to fail. Just make sure that you're working only the maximum as much as the other average people around you are working. One of my favorite things that I see in the corporate world now, my friends talk about it too. One of my friends specifically, close to you, Tyler, in Toronto, he texted us the other day and he was like, boss isn't at work today. Showed up for work at 11. Guess what time I left? And then someone answered, and he's like, yep, 3:00. So he was there for 4 hours. And my internal brain just thinks, God, fuck those people, you know? Like, especially when you're working on someone else's dime. Like, I personally think as a business owner that you should be thankful that somebody is paying you to do this job, right? Like, this person is giving me opportunity. They're giving me a chance to work. And I'm just going to sit here and just collect their money, right? And I see if it's a big company, like if you work for Amazon, your $15 an hour probably might not mean as much. But when you work for other small companies or whatever it is, and you're just wasting time, that nothing drives me more nuts than that.
So this might be an interesting one to talk about because I believe you can. It just like depends on the business you're trying to create, because it's like it comes down to how efficient you can be. And I feel like some people could potentially be successful and work less than the average person. But I think the difference is they're building something, whereas the other person that, say the average person, they might be working for someone else, or where it's like they're exchanging their time for money. So it's like they aren't building something of value.
I understand, but put this in two hands here. One hand is the person that works 8 hours a day for another company, and the other hand is a business owner that maybe gets more done than this person that does 8 hours, and they do it in 6 hours. But is it a good practice to only work 6 hours, or should they work 12 hours and become double as successful as the other person?
I heard an interesting parabola. I don't know what it was called. He used a fancy word. It was on a podcast, and it was about this Chinese fisherman. Have you heard that one?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm going to try and get it right. So there's this Chinese fisherman, and he's on his small little boat, and he's got a bunch of tuna fish. And he's coming back to shore, and this American Harvard business grad, he comes up to him. He's like, wow, you got a lot of fish. How long did that take you to catch? And then he goes, oh, not too long. And then he's like, oh, well, what are you going to be doing for the rest of the day? He's like, or why aren't you still out there? He's like, well, I got enough to feed my family and survive. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to go hang out with my family. I'm going to spend some quality time. I'm going to go hang out at the bar with my amigos and play some guitar, and I'm going to have a good time, or whatever it is. And he's like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. I got a Harvard business MBA degree, and I can help you scale your business. What you really want to do is go back out there, spend more time, catch more fish, and then we're going to invest in a bigger company, or a bigger boat, and then we're going to catch more fish, and then we're going to end up moving to LA or New York and expanding our services, and then we're going to get a whole fleet of boats, and then we're going to be able to grow your business into a multi-million-dollar business, and then we're going to IPO, and then you'll be able to sell it for multi-millions of dollars. And then he goes, how long is that going to take? And he says, about 10 to 15 years. And then he's like, okay, what am I going to do then? And then he goes, well, you can move to a small island, or I missed this part at the start, but he lives on a small island in Mexico. He's like, you can move to a small island on Mexico where you spend your days going out to fish for tuna just for a few hours, come back, spend your time with your family, and going out to the bar with your amigos. And it's just kind of like a full circle type of thing.
I get it. It really goes back to what your goals are, right? So like if your goals are that, hey, I just want to get by, I want to fly under the radar, and that's your definition of being successful, then by all means do it. But being the business podcast and hopefully talking to other fellow entrepreneurs listening to this, your goal is to build something of value, to have freedom,
build something massive.
Yeah, and to build something like that. So if that's your goal, then you just getting enough business to get you by, if we're using the same example as the fish, getting enough fish to get you by, is probably not going to get to the level of success that you have in your own mind. So even though you might be more efficient at the same as the average person at the same hours, and you're doing it quicker, put in more work, work a little bit longer, really take advantage of the fact that you are grinding a little bit harder than the other person, and it's going to pay off in the long run, which goes back to our delayed gratification episode. I think that was last week. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to that blog.
Yeah. So I guess the last one here is not learning any new skills, just staying exactly where you're at and not trying to get better, because that's what we got to be doing. We got to be going out there and getting better each and every single day. I
like that, especially your product or service. We talked about that a little bit, but make sure you don't learn new ways to make it good. If you use video, for example, if I want to be unsuccessful, I'm going to make sure I keep making the same crappy videos. Don't learn how to light them better. Don't learn how to get better audio. Don't learn how to edit better. Just make sure you're learning no new skills, and you'll be stuck in the same spot, and that's exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, everyone else is learning. They're going to be getting better. They're going to be growing. And if you're not in that boat, you're just going to get left behind because your practices are going to get old. Same thing with me. If I'm not learning anything new on Google Ads or SEO or content creation, whatever it might be, I'm going to get left behind for other people because eventually my stuff is going to get outdated and it's not going to work anymore. So you always got to be learning, growing, and improving.
That's a new thing lately, skill stacking. Have you heard people use that term?
Yeah, Hermosi talks about that a lot.
Yeah, maybe that's where I heard it too. But just as many skills as you can get it just makes you more of that Swiss Army knife, you know?
Yeah, I've always like wanted to ask him this, I guess, is like, what would be good skill stacking for a marketer, and like see what he would say. I think he always talks about sales. Sales is probably like his first one that he would say is to get. And then it's like marketing. Because he gives the example of like an accountant. And that makes a lot of sense where it's like, okay, you start out doing bookkeeping for a small company. And then you move up and then you learn how to do, I don't know what it is, accounting. And then you learn how to do mergers and acquisitions. And then you learn how to do X, Y, and Z. And then you eventually get to a CFO position where you're able to do all this stuff so that skill stacking makes a little bit more sense to me. Whereas like with marketing, I'm not sure like where I would need to go, the direction.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It'd be, obviously the marketing side, you'd have to learn the content creation side of things, which you could break that off into photo, video. You could learn copywriting. You could learn human psychology would be a good one on human behavior. You could learn, obviously you need to know about the platforms. Maybe you need to know about website stuff. I think those are some, but marketing is a little bit more of a gray area it's not a direct like, hey, here are the exact skills you need.
Yeah, maybe it's just working backwards from CMO and then just kind of going backwards. And when you were talking and branding came up, and it's like branding, marketing, growing a business, improving your brand awareness. And it's just like what types of roles or positions would help that or like improve those skills.
I like that. So those are our 10 with a couple honorable mentions, 10 ways on how not to be successful. If you guys are trying not to be successful, make sure you implement all 10 of these, and you will be you'll be a failure before you know it. So fantastic way to do it. Tyler, anything else to add before we get into this week's business idea?
So I guess just flipping it around, if you do want to be successful, you want to be consistent and not quick, have discipline, and then you want to get more sales, you want to get more clients, have processes, hire the right people, hire people that are qualified, deliver a good product or service or experience, do marketing, build a brand, invest in your company and learning and growing and learning from your mistakes, work more than the average person, and learn new skills. Just summing it up. Be successful.
Yeah, because obviously we did a little bit of an inverse episode here. We obviously don't want you guys to do any of that, but if you can flip those all around, it's going to help you build a business and hopefully build a brand, and then take it wherever you want to take it, whatever your success looks like. Tyler, what is this week's business idea?
So for this, I got to do a little bit of explaining or maybe education. I don't know if you know this, but I watched a video once, and it talked about the cups that you get at, say, Starbucks, Tim Hortons, at your local coffee shop, that apparently there's a lot of little particles within the cup that end up getting into your coffee or whatever, your hot tea, whatever it is. And those are like forever type of chemicals that just get stuck in your body. So I don't know if you've heard that. Have you heard about that before?
Maybe not specifically those cups, but I've heard it with other things, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, because the hot water, it should be like, the cup should be like disintegrated or whatever, because like the hot water just like melts it or whatever. And they use specific stuff in there. So I was thinking I don't know if you could just do it for coffee, or maybe it's like a whole different, but it's kind of like a different way of delivering your product, which would be coffee. It's having like, maybe not like a massive hydro flask, but having, say, like a Yeti or something like that, and then it has like your branding on it. So instead of giving these bad cups for the environment, giving out these cups that are reusable and they're actually not like unhealthy. And then it has your branding on it. And then basically what they can do, like maybe you can charge like an extra $1 or $2 for it. And then it just works as free branding. And then they're going to have these cups that they're going to be able to use wherever. So like they might just use it for maybe their water or daily, whatever it might be. So now they're walking around with your cup every single day, and they can bring that cup back in for refills. So instead of giving them a new cup every single time. And then it made me think of, what if there was a way to put like maybe a barcode on it, and it's like your account, and you don't need your wallet when you go there. So it like builds a lot of customer loyalty because you have that cup every single time, and it's like reminded, it's like, okay, I got to get my coffee here, and I got to go there, you bring my cup. And then I was thinking about the barcode, because what if someone just stole it and then they just go there? Maybe you have like, it's like integrated with an app. So it's like, okay, did someone just buy coffee? And then you go on the app and it's like, yes. And then it just like charges to your account or something like that. So I was just trying to think of different ways to integrate it within the business as well. So I just thought that was like an interesting idea. It obviously take a lot of education, being like, these cups are actually fucking bad for you. You don't want to be using them. That's why we use these cups. And now you get this actual cup that's going to be lasting you for years. So I just thought it was an interesting thought or idea.
You had to definitely get there through the explanation, because as you were saying it the whole time, I was thinking, Tyler, you can go to Target literally right now and go get a coffee cup that's made out of aluminum, and you can drink out of that every day, and it's reusable, and you don't have to use the cups they have. You can bring them into a coffee shop. But I think if you tie it directly to this specific coffee shop is doing it, so like you can only get this cup at this coffee shop. And I do think it's going to add a lot more to the business idea if there is some sort of account tied to it, where you could, have them scan it like you said, and it attaches to their account. Again, you obviously risk the risk of actually losing it or someone stealing it and then getting free coffee out of it. But maybe you just tie it directly to an ID, But at that point, is it just the same as giving them your card? Or maybe you put it on your account where they scan the cup, and then it's an image of you on the account on the screen, and then they look at the image of you. If it's not the same person, then it's like, nah, okay, this looks a little fishy. Or maybe you can add users, right? So it's like, well, I use the cup, but Tyler, maybe you want to use the cup too, so I can add you and a selfie of you on my account, so when it pops up, it could be you as well.
Maybe you don't even charge the extra amount for the cup, and it's like complimentary or free. And then that just builds customer loyalty, because you're delivering a great product, and then like you're banking on them being repeat customers forever. Because it's like, if I give them this cup and they can come back with that cup, and then they get refills, not free, but like they get refills whenever they bring it. Sure. It just builds that lifetime value of that customer, where it's like, okay, they're going to be here for years. Let's not charge up front for this extra cup, but now they're going to continue. I think it also eliminates, because if they reuse the cup every single time, think of how much that would save on how much you got to spend on cups. Because like you look at Starbucks, that probably adds up. They probably go through millions of cups every single day. That's probably millions of dollars. So that's just another area that eliminates expenses.
I almost tie it to, I don't know if you've ever done this, but I used to have the AMC movie pass here 4 or 5 years ago. And you buy the bucket at the beginning of the year for $50. And then every single time you go to the movies, you can refill it for like $3. Giant bucket.
There you go.
So that's, it's almost like a
similar
loss
knockoff.
Leader. It's like a loss leader. You heard of a loss leader?
I haven't.
So a loss leader, it's big in the world of Vegas. Hint as to why I know it. But the casinos in Vegas, back when the mob ran it, now it's less and less you see, but they used to have loss leaders. So they'd say, $6.99 prime rib buffet. So you go to this buffet for $6.99, you can eat all you want. But that gets them to the casino. So they're losing money on the buffet, but they're making money on everything else. So you might be losing money on the cups. You're giving them the cup, but you're gaining value on the lifetime value of that person coming to your coffee shop every single time they want to go get a coffee.
I like it.
I like that
It's a
too.
thought.
Someone can run with it. I'll talk to my local coffee shop owners and pitch it. They'll probably say you're stupid, and I'll say no, you're stupid, and we'll get in an argument. But that's how we do it.
And then we'll open a shop right next to them, and we'll be like, we'll see who wins.
Yeah, exactly. I like that idea. Competitors. I'd like to start. I think it'd be a sweet TV show, kind of like how they had Pros versus Joes, where you open up a shop directly next to your competitor, and then you have to like battle of like who can be the best. Or maybe it's like Property Brothers, or not Property Brothers, but Love It or List It. You know how they like fix up the house and then they get the option to love it or list it? Maybe one person goes in, they go into the coffee shop. You have to sell them on your ideas on how you think it can be better. And they either love it or hate it. And if they love it, awesome. You then work with them and see if it actually works. And if they hate it, then you open one up next door. That'd be a cool business show. Yeah. Save that for next week's business idea.
I still want to do our coffee exploration YouTube idea.
Yeah, one day we'll get there.
Maybe in like 10 years.
All right, Tyler, anything else for episode 95?
No, that's everything.
Awesome. That's episode 95, guys. 5 more to 100. Again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the show, give it a like if you're on YouTube, or subscribe or download wherever you're at. Just show some engagement on the show. We really appreciate you guys. Hopefully we're providing enough value to get you guys through your entrepreneurship journey, cutting some corners for you guys so you don't have to make the same mistakes we did. I am Easton. That is Tyler. Episode 95. Tyler, get us out of here.
The sex. Oh my goodness.
There
The
you go.
sex.
Stay
Oh
hot.
my God. I'm just not even going to say
hot.
that word. The successful person and the unsuccessful person are looking at the same world. The difference between them is what they see. Dr. Steve Maraboli.